morning, everyone. My name is Ashley, and I'd just like to welcome you to our clearing question and answer stream that we're hosting this evening. Just to give you a little bit of background, and then I'll get Ryan and Rebecca to introduce themselves as well. My name's Ashley. I've been a student at Loughborough for a really long time within the Department of Aeronautical and Automotive Engineering. Ryan, how about you?
So I'm a third year student on a commercial management and quantity surveying degree at Loughborough University.
I have just graduated actually after 3 years studying English at Loughborough, but I also came through clearing. So hopefully I can alleviate any worries if any of you are kind of thinking about that.
Fabulous. Well, so I suppose until we get any sort of comments or questions coming in, we can just sort of have a bit of a chat about clearing. So Rebecca, since you went through it, would you mind just kind of giving us a little bit of insight into your experience?
Yeah, so I finished my gap year and I had a complete change of heart about which university I wanted to go to, because I kind of wanted to have it all. So I wanted to be able to do the academic stuff, but also have a balanced social life and get involved with sport. And so Loughborough kind of offered that full package. So I had my set of grades already, but I opted to go and apply to Loughborough through clearing. And it was a really good decision because I have stayed for the whole 3 years and really enjoyed it and just finished. So it was actually a lot less stressful than I thought it would be on the day, because obviously everyone thinks of clearing and thinks of doom and gloom because they haven't maybe hit their grades or they maybe want to change where they want, and it's quite a stressful period because obviously you don't know where you're going to end up. But I called up and the lady on the phone was really calm and calmed me down, so it was all fine. And it's quite a simple process. As long as you look on the website to check that your course that you're applying for is available, then you can call up and just see if you can get a place. That's all you can really do, but it all turned out fine. So I think it's scary in the thought of it, but actually it's a lot easier if you just organize yourself for the day.
Yeah, so either Ryan or Rebecca, what sort of advice would you give to students who are maybe awaiting results day and thinking about not necessarily that they might not hit their grades, because I think it's really important to be prepared regardless, but what's kind of your biggest advice for students who are thinking about results day and clearing?
So I think Rebecca hit the nail on the head, sort of being organised, doing that research, maybe because clearing is not just people that didn't hit the grades, but also for those that did better than anticipated.
Yeah.
So you might realise, I actually got some better results. I could go slightly higher up the league table or might change your site. So definitely be organised, do that research, work out where else you might want to go if you need to change your plans, but just have that information ready. So your UCAS number, make sure you know your UCAS login details so you can view it all through the track portal, because there's a lot of stuff that you need to be able to do on there as well throughout the day. And yeah, just be organised, call up as early as possible, and remember everyone's in the same position, so try not to stress too much, which is really easy to say. I remember on results day sort of getting the letter, and my results were again a little bit stressful because of COVID, so I didn't get the results the first time around, which was a little bit stressful. But yeah, there's so many people there to help you. If you call up our call centre, it's manned by our current student ambassadors or staff that have all been trained, so they all know what they're doing, and they can see in front of them and hopefully help you through the process. So that would be my tip, just stay organised.
Yeah, I definitely echo that. I think staying organised, also chatting to your friends and family whilst you do it, because it's so stressful sometimes going through it, but it doesn't need to be, and it all works out in the end. But you obviously don't know that until you've kind of got through it all. So I think as long as you chat to people about it and kind of also don't rush into things, just look at what options you have after you've maybe called up universities, and then sit down and look at it all, and then you can decide, because it's got to be the best thing for you at the end of the day. It's not like a rush decision. So I think just chatting to people about it and thinking it through and kind of trying to alleviate some of the stress in the day is really what you can do.
Yeah, because it's one of the things that I always say to people on tours. Parents always ask me oh, Ashley, what's your number one tip for students? And it's always, and always has been and will continue to be, make sure that you're prepared for clearing on results day, because the biggest problem or the biggest kind of thing that people end up kind of getting stuck with is ending up on results day, and either something goes so much better than they expected or a little bit worse than they expected, and they didn't do the research. So obviously maybe people watching this live stream might be hard set on Loughborough, and that's fantastic, but making sure that you've had a look at a couple other universities, know what universities do the courses that you're interested in, and having a look at university-specific clearing websites is really important. Same thing with the Loughborough one, like you said, Rebecca, making sure that you look on our website, because it's the one that is going to be the most up to date on actual clearing and will stay the most up to date throughout the day. So if you already have your list of universities and contact center, like call numbers, it just makes the whole day more, I guess, relaxed, you know, because you're not sort of stressed out about the whole thing. So thinking about the other stuff that kind of goes, actually, hopefully we might be able to put the call center number up, and if not, it's just going to be linked on the website. But what sort of things, like, I guess, since I don't think we've had any questions yet, we can just keep going. Actually, we have had a question, let me see.
Yeah, I think there's a few things you sort of need to be aware of sort of leading up to results day, sort of that process of starting university. Obviously, if you're lucky enough to get your results when you go to clearing, you're going to be moving to a new place really shortly.
Yeah.
So sort of keep an eye out on your emails, check your personal emails, make sure you're looking up for updates from university, sort of checklist.
Check your junk folder as well. The number of things end up in people's spam folders. We've fortunately had the number come up on the bottom of the screen for the clearing for our contact line. But yeah, just being prepared, knowing what happens with accommodation on the day, knowing what happens with, you know, how different universities do different things. I think just taking the time while people have this week out before, when you're maybe a bit stressed, to just do some little research bits that make you kind of a little bit less panicked about the whole thing is much better. So we've had a question from Jack in the chat, which hopefully we'll be able to pull up. His question says, do you call the university admissions or the specific department if clearing is needed? So I don't know if either of you want to take that, or I'll just take it. So at least Loughborough specifically, it might differ university by university. We have one single clearing phone number. It's really straightforward. It has a series of different kind of prompts. So as you call it, says like, do you hold an offer, or you do want to go through clearing, that sort of thing. And you click through the different numbers, and then you get sent through to our admissions or our contact center for clearing specifically. So as Ryan was saying earlier at the beginning of the call, or this live session, all of the call handlers, all the operators are really well trained in this. I've just come from training today because I'll be on manning the phones next week. And we're there to help you with any of the sort of questions that you need. So if it's going through clearing for any course, so after you've had a look on our website, call this up. If there's a course that you specifically want to apply for, that's something that we can help you with over the phone. If it then ends up being anything that's a little bit more specific, we can then connect you to the department through the call center. So everything gets handled by the central phone number, which is rolling at the bottom of the screen. It's also information that you can find all over the Loughborough University clearing specific webpage. It's got like all these cute little hands on it. It's really colorful. I really like the marketing. They did a really good job. But yeah, so all the information you need will be there. Mark has asked a question, actually, that I think is a good one as well. Do you advise getting your results as early as possible on results day? And then a follow-up question, do clearing places get allocated on a first-come basis? Does anyone want to take that, Ryan, maybe?
Yes, so I think definitely get your results as early as possible. Give yourself as much amount of time as possible. So for Loughborough, I know we typically open our clearing hotline for 2 days, but results do places do go on a first come, first served basis. So if you have got those results or you need to discuss your offer, call up as soon as possible, get in touch, and we can put you through whether we can answer that question or the admissions team will be able to help you answer that query as soon as possible. And it leaves you the rest of your day to get ready and get excited for university, because that's what's next.
Absolutely, yeah. So just to, I guess, reiterate, like, there's a set number of spaces that become available in clearing, and that's dependent on a whole bunch of different factors. But what ends up happening is, as people call up in the morning, things change and those spaces come down. So what you see at 9 o'clock in the morning will be completely different to what you'll see at 2 p.m. So that's why being ready, and that's why knowing what courses or what universities you might be interested in is really important. The one challenge with getting results on results days is that is a bit dependent on your school. So if you have a whole period of time when you can go in, yeah, absolutely go in as early as possible if you can. But you have to remember that you find out through UCAS before you might be able to get into school. So the only the only point where it might become important to get your results early on is if you maybe didn't get in like your original choices, if that makes sense. Because in order to make calls that come, in order to go into clearing, you need to make sure that you know your actual letter grades, which UCAS won't tell you.
I think just to answer some of the questions in the chat, the clearing is a really personal subject. So unlike some of the other live streams where accommodation and people have all the same questions, it's a really case-by-case sort of scenario, and we're probably not the best placed people to answer that. So if on the day you do find yourself using the clearing tool or process to get to university, call up then. They'll know more. And a lot of times it is a case-by-case process, so we can't give you a blanket answer of certain courses, or if certain results don't get met, but you get some other grades. It will all depend on the day and how the admissions have gone that year. As Ashley said, there's so many different factors that influence what courses are in clearing, how many spaces we have. And so, yeah, please, if you're conscious of putting your own question in the chat, don't worry too much, because that'll all be available to be cleared up on the day.
Yeah, so I think moral of the story with that is, I know it's hard, but just be patient, wait for results day, and that's going to be kind of the first point where we're going to know how things are looking. I'm just having another scroll through. Jack has asked about, does clearing open at 8 a.m. with results, or is it later in the day so people can prepare calls, etc.? So our phone line opens at 8. Yes, 8. Ooh, if we can just double check that, sorry.
Yeah, I think the call center opens at 8. It's nice and early in the morning. I was getting there early last year.
Yeah, so what we were saying before about making sure that you're using kind of the next week to prepare, call centers open at 8. Courses or clearing offers can be made from 8 a.m. So making sure that you're prepared in that way, at least making sure that you've done your university specific research, then that will help you. I think the trouble is when people leave it to the day thinking that, everything is going to go brilliantly, and then they end up with something changing. So yeah, in response to Jack, your question, yes, clearing opens right away at 8 o'clock in the morning. And it's just a case of making sure that you prepare yourself as well as you possibly can, so that going into the clearing process, if you do need to go into the clearing process, because not everyone does, that you're as prepared as you possibly can be.
There are also loads of really helpful resources on the website. So the dedicated clearing section, again, with accommodation, so people have questions about how do they apply. So we're currently working out the slots so that you can choose your accommodation if you get in through the normal. And if you do get in through clearing, the people on the day will be able to help you on the phone, sort of what your next steps are, whether that's a preference system that we might run, or there'll be people there that are able to give you the best advice at the time for you. And yeah, so again, the website is such a handy tool to refer back to. I know even the TikTok today, there was some stuff going up about 5 top tips for clearing. So make sure you're following not just us, shameless plug, but other universities. They might have their own advice. It won't be as good, obviously, but yeah, so make sure you keep an eye out on all the advice, all the channels, and make sure you're just prepared and use this time, as Ashley said, to research, because I think the more you can do before the day, the better prepared you'll be for clearing and results day and everything that's going to come. And
yeah, because if you've applied to Loughborough, for example, through the normal channels, you'll have already sort of had a bit more of an idea about what happens with accommodation and that sort of thing. But remember, if you are looking at Loughborough as a clearing option, everyone who's coming in on clearing is going to be in a very similar boat. So we're very well versed in dealing with clearing students and making sure that you're given equal opportunity, the same as everyone else. We do, though, have an open day on the 19th, which is the Saturday, that if you haven't been to Loughborough before and you go through clearing, or even if you're a student who applied in the normal cycle and didn't get a chance to come to Loughborough, you can come down on the open house. It's kind of like a mini open day. So it's not quite as all singing, all dancing as our main open days are, but there will be representatives from all the different departments on campus. And it's just an opportunity that if you do end up holding a clearing offer from Loughborough, you can see the campus, talk to some students, talk to the department, and see what you think. Because for Loughborough, you have 3 days to make a decision on your clearing offer. That big caveat differs university to university, so you have to make sure that you know how long you have to hold an offer for. But for Loughborough, we give you enough time so that if you want to come to the open house on Saturday, you can come, have a look around, and then make a decision after that, which is hopefully to come to Loughborough.
Open house is so useful. So I actually went to the open house because I deferred my offer. So it'd been about over a year since I'd looked around, and it's a little bit quieter than some of our big open days. So you get a chance to speak to the students. You might get shown around slightly smaller groups, or you might also know more stuff. So you might know which accommodation you've got on the booking day. So you can come and sort of plot out in your head, if you need that extra time, sort of prepare yourself where you're going to go find your accommodation, where your lectures will be, how you sort of get around, because it's quite a big, nice campus. So yeah, there's loads of different opportunities to view the campus whilst you're there on the open house. So definitely come on down and say hello.
Yeah. So another question that's come through is coming from Olivia, who's basically just said that if you hold, if you had an offer with Loughborough? Sorry, I'm not reading it. What happens if you miss the grades but have an offer? Can you try and go through clearing or not after that? Like if you miss the grades, should you try and call up anyway to see if there's any spaces? Anyone want to answer? Maybe?
Yeah, so you can definitely call up anyway and chat to someone on the phone. But as you say, that kind of is conditional on whether there's any spaces or not. So you'll be able to see on the day whether there's any spaces for your course or not. And that literally varies per uni, per course. So it's completely variable. But it's probably still worth calling up if you do miss them and you don't get in and it's somewhere that you want to go.
I think also something that's important to bear in mind is that a lot of courses have variations. So there's like geography with economics or geography with maths, or, there are other options that maybe when you applied in the first cycle, you didn't necessarily consider, but you're doing business as an A level and you're also doing geography, and being able to combine them might be a really great option for you as well. And that's the sort of way that you can kind of come back in through clearing and have a look at the other things that are on offer. It's easy enough to do.
I think we're getting quite a few questions about which number to call depending on your circumstance. If I remember correctly, the phone lines are really good at sort of diverting your call.
Everything, yeah.
So they'll ask, do you have an offer? Did you meet the grades? And it will be able to filter you through to the right phone number. Yeah, that clearing phone line, use that, and that will be able to divert you to the right people who know what to do.
Yeah, exactly. So I've just been listening to it this afternoon. So essentially there's, I think, the original or the first step that you get to is, have you applied to Loughborough full stop, or have you not, and you're just looking through clearing? And that's basically how we end up splitting your calls down. And that means that when your call handler gets your call, they already sort of have a bit of an idea of your background, and then you can move forward from there. So long as you give us your UCAS number, that's really important. Let's have a look, just double check if there's anything else that we're seeing. So Kira's just been saying, can you call the clearing hotline to see if there's any other courses that you can do? Short answer, yes, obviously, but the easiest way of doing that is the website. So on the day, on the Thursday, on the results day, all universities will have most universities will have clearing websites that will go live. And that website will be where you can find the most up-to-date list of what courses are in clearing. And that list will include what offers we're making. So there'll be clearing specific offers. So whether it's, whatever 3 grades it is for that course. It's much faster if you just have a scroll through. So say you want to do something with geography, for example, you can type in geography and it'll pull up all of the geography related courses and you can see what's available in clearing. So short answer, yes, you can call the phone line, but it's actually going to be much faster for you if you just go on our specific website, which will be linked absolutely everywhere. Ryan?
There was something else I remember that was quite stressful last year is if you receive your results and there might be missing results. So there are cases where students don't get a full set of results. Our admissions team, if you email them and put in your subject headline, we'll still be able to honour your offer if you meet your offer before, I think it's the 6th of September. There's, again, all these details on our website, so don't worry. As long as you put that in your subject headline to help our admissions team get to it quickly, they'll be able to include stuff like your name, your UCAS personal identification, so they can just relate you to your UCAS ID. That's really helpful for us and for you in sort of securing that place.
Yeah. So what about, I'm just kind of looking at a couple of like commonly asked questions that people have. What happens if you're traveling, or if you have like a summer job, for example, and you can't call up yourself?
So you do have to call our clearing hotline. So it is something you have to call. So if you are knowing that you're traveling, as soon as you land, make that a priority. Or if you're at work, I was one of these people, so I was working during my results day. I was quite lucky that my job was a little bit more flexible. I just sort of knew that this was coming up. I just said, look, I just need 5 minutes to make sure that I can get this sorted. Majority of people I appreciate will probably have tried to get the morning off, sort of get their results. But just as soon as you're able to, so whatever circumstance you're in, as soon as you're able to access that UCAS, and be patient. It does tend to crash in the morning, because as you can imagine, there's thousands of people across the UK that morning sort of trying to get their results. So there's loads of people trying to do that. But yeah, just try and do it at your earliest convenience.
Yeah, absolutely. Olivia's asked another question. She said, and then can you apply on the website, or do you have to call on the phone once you've checked for a course that's on the clearing website? Rebecca?
Yeah, so you call on the phone, and to be honest, that's a lot easier because you can actually speak to a human being than doing it through the website. Like, I remember the page when I did it through Clearing was really, really good, because it literally did like refresh regularly so that you could see what was actually kind of still there for spaces. But you do need to call up, and to be honest, I think that was the best part of it, because it just made it so much less stressful actually chatting it through with someone. And then obviously they'll be able to help you further and give you like their most updated view of everything. So yeah, definitely call up.
Yeah, absolutely. So you go on the clearing website, see that there's a course that you want on offer, ring up. You'll get straight through to one of us. We'll basically double check that you have the grades that we need. So say it's saying that you need ABB for whatever course, we'll say, okay, well, do you have ABB? If you say yes, we'll go wonderful. And then we just fill out a form with you over the phone. When that form gets filled out, you end up getting one pinged to you by email. And then after that, everything kind of comes through, and you start getting more emails explaining how to accept the offer if you want to, or basically reject it, if that makes sense as well. So it's a really straightforward process. And I think, like Rebecca said, one of the best things is that you can speak to someone, and you get to speak to someone about that. But obviously, the clearing phone number is not just for people who want to go through clearing. If people have questions about their specific application, that you can use that as well, as somebody who's previously applied to Loughborough, and we can look you up with your UCAS ID. Just having another look.
Do you know what we haven't mentioned yet? And that is for all of those that are successful in getting their offer to Loughborough, is the golden ticket. Now, the golden ticket is the best part of the whole joining Loughborough process. Please take a photo, share it with us. We love seeing the golden ticket photos. I still have mine pinned on my wall. And yeah, it's a really big part, I think, of joining university, the build up. It starts from there.
And the nice thing is, even if you go through clearing, you still get one.
Yeah.
I saw them all online, and I was like, oh my word, I really want one of those. And then one arrived in the post, and I was like, oh, nice. So you do get treated as an equal, which is nice.
Yeah, I've been here so long that mine wasn't a golden ticket. We had these little like Polaroid frame type things that you'd take a picture of yourself in the frame. But yeah, it like really adds to the whole thing, because obviously it is stressful. There's no way that you can sort of get around the fact that it is nerve-wracking and stressful. But fortunately, the little things like that, even if you've come through clearing, are really great and a part of the whole experience for sure. Just have a little look. Just double checking. Is there anything else that anybody wants to talk about while we're having a look? Just while I'm scrolling through the chat.
I think one thing to be aware of is just communicating with the university. So if you know you might want to transfer courses, or if you've got any mitigating circumstances, contextual information that you want us to be aware of, just email admissions. So make sure your UCAS ID, your name, and make sure that we have that information available to us, just so that we can make sure that's part of your application. And again, we'll see all this information as part of your, when you ring up, they'll be able to see whether that was taken into account and how we can help make that happen.
Yeah, another thing that people often get caught out on is having their parents talk to us on the phone. So for people who can maybe think back way back when you were setting up your UCAS account, you can have a nominated contact. We can speak to your nominated contact so long as that's someone who's on your form. But if not, we need your permission to discuss your information. So just making sure things like that you sort of know if it's your parent or guardian or whoever. If you end up needing that sort of support to talk to us, then that's fine. We just need permission to be able to speak to people on your behalf. What else? Just having a look on here as well.
I think one thing I would stress is when you're on the phone, please do remember that these are people trying to help you as well. So
Yeah.
I know obviously it's a really stressful time, but the people in the call center are there to help. They'll be able to see all the information in front of you. So as long as you've got your details ready, that's really helpful for you to help us. So again, make sure you have your UCAS ID, make sure you know those details, the email addresses that are associated with your UCAS account. And again, make sure you've got your passwords handy, you're checking your emails regularly, the junk folder, as we've said.
Junk folder.
And when you actually make a clearing offer, so if you're able to make clearing, I believe that's done with you over the phone, so we can sort of do that live. So we might need a few information, so you'll get email confirmation of that. So again, just keep an eye out post clearing. There's also other options if you don't meet your grades. So for example, I know students that might have gone away, and if you're really set on Loughborough, you might have to, you can retake a qualification to get that grade that you need. Equally, I know people that didn't make it into their first choice university and had the best time, because over the next 3, 4, 5 years, or 7, if you're like Ashley, no matter how long you're there, you'll meet so many great people, have so many great memories. And yeah, so that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I think it's such a good point, Ryan, because it's the same thing that people always say with accommodation, regardless of what university you go to. You might have your heart set on something, but you end up having the most incredible time wherever you end up. So just making sure that you're prepared, looked at different courses, different options, and just setting yourself up as best as possible so that if you do need to go through clearing, you'll be, ready for it. So one of the biggest things, and something that Loughborough's done really well and put together for everyone, is an ultimate guide to clearing that you can actually download on our website. So if you go specifically to the Loughborough University clearing website, you can have a look at that and download it. It just gives you all the information that you might need, and is a really useful tool that will hopefully put you at ease a little bit more. If that's possible. I know it's a hard time. But yeah, so that's a really great resource for anyone, and just know that it's there, and the clearing website's there for Loughborough, but then for any other university as well, so that you can really get all the information that you need of how to best tackle clearing.
Neha just wants some clarification, I think, on her question. So I think with your specific question, I think Nia's original question was about transferring degrees. So it depends whether so if you're successful in making that application, you will be able to ring up on the day. They can talk you through your admission. They'll see that on there. Equally, you can email admissions after the day and request a transfer, and they'll look at sort of the spaces on the course, availability, similarities on your degree, whether you have the required qualifications or A-levels. And it will really, again, be that case-by-case basis. So I can't sit here and give you a blanket answer, but definitely get in contact. Say, look, this is what you want to do. This is what you think is better for you. And they'll be able to help you from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what's hard, because we can see a lot of people's questions. But, everything, as Ryan was saying, is so case-by-case. And unfortunately, you just have to be patient and wait until results day. And at that point, it's when we'll be able to see sort of what's happened. what's happened with results.
Is it worth leaving with some top tips and then sort of,
yeah. We'll see if that's okay from our side. Yeah, so at least me personally, having worked the clearing lines for, I think this year is going to be my 7th year. I think that's what somebody told me when I was at the training today, is just to be as prepared as possible. So like we've said, like I think both Ryan and Rebecca have said, making sure that you've got your UCAS number, your results, everything written down. So many people end up having to search for things on their mobile phone when they're on the phone with us. And unfortunately, if you don't have your UCAS number with you ready when you call the clearing line, we'll ask you to ring back. So just make sure that you've got those silly little things put together so that if you do end up needing them, it's all in one place. And yeah, just making sure that you're looking at different universities, figuring out where you might be interested in going, what courses you might want to do, that sort of thing. And just kind of making yourself a clearing day guide or a results day guide so that if you do need it, you'll have everything in one place so that at 8 o'clock in the morning, if you want to be calling Loughborough or any other university, you're ready and you can. Ryan, do you want to go next?
So I think Rebecca already covered it, but do your research. So I think just make sure you sort of know where you might want to go, what grades are, because a lot of universities, I think a common misconception about clearing is there'll be concessions. So some universities, I think Loughborough, don't quote me on this again, we don't often change the entry requirements for some of our courses. So again, make sure you do your research, look at what universities have a range. So if you think maybe I've done slightly better than my exam predictions, look at those ones that might be looking at those A, B, Bs or A's and Bs or Bs and Cs. So just make sure you've got a real range, do your research, and look at the universities as well, beyond just the numbers. But did you like the campus feel? Do you think you'd like a city feel? And ultimately, come to the open house and see if once you get that clearing offer, that's something for you.
Yeah, I think my thing would be maybe rank the universities other than the ones you've applied to that you would want to call up if you had to go through clearing, because you want to prioritize the ones you actually want to go to when you call up, because otherwise if you call up at 5 p.m. on the day, there might not be spaces for the course that you wanted to apply for. But I think it's the same this year, and it was when I did it, that you can call up and get offers from different universities and then sit down with those offers and think about it. So as long as you've called up, say 3 that you really, really want to go to, and they will have your courses with spaces, then amazing. Sit back and think about it and don't rush into it. Because like I said, you do have 3 days from Loughborough to respond to the offer. So just maybe sleep on it if it's the same for other universities, and then you actually know that you're making the right decision for you rather than rushing into it, because it's quite stressful on the day and it doesn't need to be, but you just need to give yourself the time to think about it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Rebecca, because I think from, at least for Loughborough, or it might be a UCAS thing, from 1 p.m. you can choose where it is that you want to go. But nothing's telling you that you have to decide then, at least in the case of Loughborough. You have 3 days. You have 3 days to make that decision, to confirm whether or not you want to go there. Some universities say, okay, well, we're cutting it off at 5 p.m. on results day. And that's how long you have to make a decision. So just make sure that when you're applying to different universities, you know how long you have to deal with offers. Because if you can give yourself more time, it is really great to be able to give yourself more time. So yeah, just make the most of that. I think while we keep talking about this, I'm just going to put a final shout out for questions. If anybody has any final questions, pop those in the comment section, please. And we'll just kind of keep talking as we wrap up.
Something else I wanted to add. Oh, I lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. But I think clearing. No, go ahead.
Sorry, that's all my fault. No, yeah. So I think just making sure that you're ready is the biggest thing, and the biggest gift you can give yourself is just making sure that you're put together. And I know a lot of people who kind of reached out to their schools earlier just to make sure that they know how it's going to work, because all schools kind of operate differently with how they do results day. So just making sure that you understand that and you know sort of what you're going to be faced with is important as well.
So I know what I was going to say. With your UCAS track, you may have to release yourself into clearing. So say, for example, you do meet your offer, whether that be for your first choice or insurance choice, just make sure you've got access to UCAS just so you can do that alongside the calls that you may be making or anything else.
So Bryony's put a comment in the chat, and they've put, is accommodation first come, first serve on clearing spaces? Anyone want to answer that?
I believe, like a lot of the answers we've had tonight, is case by case. So there is a slightly different process for our clearing accommodation. For our clearing accommodation, they'll be able to give you more accurate results than I will.
For clearing accommodation, it's not first come, first serve. It all kind of happens. You'll get links. All that information will come out. I'm fairly certain there will be information from Loughborough if you want to look specifically into how clearing and accommodation works. You won't be left without somewhere to live. Don't worry. One of the great benefits of being within clearing is that you will get a home, so it's fine. Don't worry. But yeah, so don't worry too much about that. It's a case of, if it ends up being on the day that you're through clearing, just make sure that after you've rung us up, got your offer, you keep an eye on your emails, you keep an eye on your junk folder, because like we've kind of said a couple times, sometimes we get people who call up an hour later and go, I was made a clearing offer, but I haven't received it yet. We're like, check your junk, and then it's there. So don't worry about that if that's something that happens, but just make sure that you're keeping an eye on all of your different folders in your email, just to make sure that if you are sent something, then you do see it.
I think just adding to that as well, I think it probably would be the same this year, but Loughborough do offer accommodation through clearing. I believe I'm right in saying that. Whereas other universities, some of them don't. So it's just kind of worth also making a note of that, because that was a really big factor about why I went through to Loughborough through clearing, because I was really stressed about the accommodation side of it. And actually I was treated like an equal with the accommodation, even though for my year the process varied slightly. But it still meant that I did actually have somewhere to live in student accommodation, and it was absolutely fine. So I think that's not really something to worry about for Loughborough's clearing process.
Yeah, and I think, again, going back to that open house, so the open house, which is the mini open day, is a great opportunity to come onto campus and just have another look around, because being able to see Loughborough in person, obviously we know how great it is and we think it's so wonderful, but being able to see it after you're maybe holding an offer and still thinking of making a decision, then it's a really great opportunity to have a look around. You won't be able to look in accommodation, but you'll be able to have a walk around and kind of get an idea of what the different types of accommodation are like on campus, and then also what the town is like as well, which is really important. Olivia, just to pick up on your question as well, what if they have your courses with spaces, but you have still missed the grades? Would they accept you? So again, this really is like a case by case sort of thing, and you'll just have to see on the day. So sorry that we have to give you that sort of answer, but yeah, it just sort of depends on how the cards fall, really. And it just depends. Yeah, it just, we just sort of see what happens, I suppose. But yeah. So if no one else has any other questions coming in, that's, I guess, just a massive thank you from us. If anyone else has any other last pieces of parting advice that you want to give, feel free. Anyone? No?
Just check the website. It's got everything we've said here today.
Yeah.
It's loads of helpful information, and refer back to that.
Absolutely. So the phone number is rolling across the bottom of the screen. I think at one point the clearing website was as well, or it might kind of go off one by one. Just have a look at that. Have a look at the complete clearing, or the ultimate clearing guide as well. Have a download of that, and just get as much information as you possibly can, because that's how you'll find getting through results day as smooth as it possibly can. All right, well, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. If you have anything that you need any help with, you can have a look on the website for more information of ways to contact. But otherwise, good luck with results day. Hopefully it all goes to plan. We'll be seeing a lot of you at Loughborough in the autumn. Thanks.